We have an Andrew Wiggins trade update on this edition of the Heat Report by Chat Sports. I am your host, Nic Rohloff. Miami shocked everyone by trading for Norman Powell earlier this week. And now the next moves that could be coming could be an Andrew Wiggins trade, could be a Terry Rozier trade. And we have a little bit of an update with Wiggins and the Los Angeles Lakers, and I want to discuss it on today's show. But I want to make sure you are subscribed as we continue to bring you daily content. But we're also 50 subscribers away from a massive milestone of 24,000. So hit that sub button for daily Heat content. Can we please get to 24K? Let's get there to get the Haywood Highsmith jersey number. I appreciate everybody who has subscribed over the last week because I know there's a lot of new people watching. But if you haven't hit that sub button already, what are you waiting for? Join the family here at the Heat Report. Let's get into the talks around Andrew Wiggins and the Lakers, because it could be that Miami has a very strict price point and they are closing off talks if the Lakers aren't willing to meet that. In a subtle tweet by Barry Jackson just yesterday, he kind of mentioned that talks have stalled out a little bit between LA and Miami. He was talking about how the Heat's roster is being constructed after the Norman Powell trade and responding to some fans and Heat people. And he said they are okay with having Wiggins around. They likely would need to win the trade to trade him. The Lakers rejected the Heat offer. So the Heat offered out there, hey, Rui Hachimura, Dalton Knecht, and a first-round pick. There would likely have to be a third team involved for more salary. But the Lakers said no to that deal. And that is really the only trade that Miami would make. So obviously talks have stalled and kind of went silent here. If Miami says, yeah, you have to give us Hachimura, Knecht in a first for us to even consider trading Andrew Wiggins. And I'll be honest, I have absolute no issue with how Miami is negotiating with LA in terms of potentially trading Andrew Wiggins. To many people's disbelief, and I know I've talked down on Andrew Wiggins in his time in Miami and how the Heat should trade him, but I have a new vision on this team after the Norman Powell trade because I just didn't foresee something like that happening where Miami acquired a borderline all-star player a year ago for practically nothing. Andrew Wiggins is a good player, and he would fit really well with this current roster that is constructed because he is no longer being asked to be the third option offensively. It's clear that he is not able to do that, and it's why I was willing to trade him. But with Norman Powell coming aboard, Wiggins is now your fourth option offensively and can go back to his more natural role of being a connective piece in the half court, being able to hit a catch and shoot three, and being more of a defender. So if you're Los Angeles, I'm going to need that best package, or I'm keeping Wiggins and keeping him at that starting three spot. So if you are looking at what a trade may look like and what I would need personally, this is what I do need. It would have to be a three-team deal, as Barry Jackson noted. We had this trade idea on our show on Tuesday, which is why you also need to subscribe because we talked about this a little bit before. But I need Miami to get Rui Knecht and a first-round pick from LA, and then the Warriors could be one of those teams involved where they get Shake Milton and a second from Los Angeles to help facilitate salary. The Warriors have an open roster spot. They actually have a lot of open roster spots, so it makes sense. But this is what I would do. Miami has one open roster spot. Their team would then be at the max 15 players. You get a young potential shooter and Knecht, a player that can come off your bench in Rui Hachimura. You'd likely start Nikola Jovic at the three, and you get a future first-round pick to add to your draft assets. But if I'm going to be real here, for me to trade Andrew Wiggins, all I would actually need is Dalton Knecht and a first-round pick. Sure, it'd be dope to get Rui because he would be awesome to come off your bench in that front court, and then you'd be able to slot in Jovic as your starting three. But these are the only two things that I really want. If they attached, Maxi Kleber and Gabe Vincent to Knecht in a first-round pick instead to make salary work, cool. I am not dead set on Rui Hachimura. I am dead set on I need the unprotected first-round pick, or even it's just top 10 protected, and Dalton Knecht in order for me to facilitate an Andrew Wiggins trade. That is my bare minimum at this point when it comes to trade talks with the Lakers. And that has changed because, remember, it used to be just one or the other. Now I need both now. But what say you? Do you still want to trade Andrew Wiggins? Type Y for yes, type N for no. Today's pinned comment, so if you get hit with YouTube ad break, scroll down, let it play, and answer today's question. Now I did want to share this little quote from Anthony Irwin, someone who covers the Lakers and have been very much on the Lakers-Wiggins trade talks. Irwin said that the Lakers are going to reopen the Andrew Wiggins conversations to hope Miami will be a little bit less ridiculous about demanding that they get Rui Connect in a first plus expiring money. Lakers were never going to match that price. Lakers are hoping that price will come down a bit. I'll say it again. Do not lower the price. I am not trading Andrew Wiggins for scraps. I'm not doing it. Miami just came away with robbery with getting Norman Powell from the Clippers in that 3-team deal where they only had to send out 2 older bottom-of-the-end rotation guys in Anderson and Love with no picks attached. I'm keeping that same type of mentality here with a Wiggins trade. You either are going to meet my price point or we're not doing it, because Wiggins is not a player that is a negative asset in my books like a player like Terry Rozier. It's different with Rozier because he's a negative asset. Wiggins is not a negative asset whatsoever. Now, we did share this quote yesterday, but another person who covers the Lakers, Jovan Buha, said on his YouTube live stream that he thinks the Lakers do need to go in for Wiggins. And if it were up to him, he is going to do the Rui, Dalton, and first-round pick on the table because, yes, he believes it's an overpay, but he also believes a Rui Connect first-round pick package would not be able to net anyone better than Andrew Wiggins in a return. So if you're hearing that is what the Heat want, and they are not budging off of that, which I think is a good idea. Anthony Irwin reporting the Lakers want it to come down a little bit. Buha said he's willing to do that package. You see, the media's already start to cave a little bit. They're justifying in their head, okay, we need a 3-and-D wing to connect this front court to back court of Reeves, Luka, LeBron, DeAndre Ayton. Hold strong, Pat. Hold strong, Pat Riley. We can get this done if you want to trade Wiggins for that price point. And that is the only price point I'm trading Andrew Wiggins. Once again, I am not trading Wiggins just to trade him. He is a good basketball player that fits this roster because he is now that 4th option offensively. This is the better spot for him. And maybe he would enjoy playing in Miami much more this year than he did last season when he got traded halfway through the year in the Jimmy Butler deal. And if we're going to be quite honest here, Wiggins in the 17 regular season games that he played with Miami a year ago was actually pretty solid. The issue is that he only played in 17 of 33 possible regular season games and then absolutely no-showed in that playoff series against Cleveland. But newsflash, no one really showed up in that series outside of Davion Mitchell. Hero and Bam both struggled against the Cavs as well. So I can't put the full fault on Wiggins. But if he is able to be more available for the Miami Heat, not miss 50% of the games this regular season, well, then Wiggins is a very good piece for Miami behind Powell, Hero, Bam in this starting lineup. Like, I truly believe this current roster can compete in the Eastern Conference considering how weak it is with the Halliburton injury, the Jason Tatum injury, the Milwaukee Bucks roster declining to a pretty big degree. Like, Miami, after that Norman Powell addition, is slowly rising up the ranks in the Eastern Conference just because other teams are falling down. So this team is going to be competitive, and I'll kind of look at where they might slot in the Eastern Conference, in my opinion, in just one second. But I do have to let the Heat fans know about this amazing deal we have. When you go to chatsports.com/Heat shirt sale, you can grab this Heat shirt for $16. It's usually $30, so almost 50% off when you go to chatsports.com/Heat shirt sale. Links in the description and comments of today's video. Sizes are running out, so take advantage. I don't know how long the sale is going to last either. So when you look at the Heat roster after the Norman Powell trade, this is where it slots in. And I know a lot of people have talked, do you start Powell? Do you bring him off the bench as your 6th man? He was top 5 and 6th man of the year voting in 2022-23 and 23-24, but then he was a starter this past season for the Clippers, and that's where he was almost an all-star, averaging 21.8 points per game. So to me, he can play next to Tyler because he is an average defender. Not good, but not bad. He's got a 6'11 wingspan. I think it works. So I'm starting him next to Tyler. And then you have that back line of Wiggins, Bam, and Ware, which projects to be one of the better defensive front courts in the NBA with its ability to switch, its length, and ability to protect the paint. So I think it works both offensively and defensively. Plus, I would like to keep Davion Mitchell off of the bench because to me, his role and production is just infinitely better when he's able to be that change of pace pit bull guard off the bench, almost like TJ McConnell is for the Indiana Pacers. And like, I might be tweaking, I might be drinking the Kool-Aid, but is that a top 6 team in the Eastern Conference? Like, I think it is. Like, there is a legit chance, in my opinion, that it could be. And the only thing this roster currently needs is, if you're looking at it, is a backup big. The Heat's front court is weak. There's no question about that. It's Kel'el Ware, it's Bam Adebayo, and it's Nikola Jovic. Like, I'm not including Wiggins in terms of its actual front court piece. I'm just looking at like 4 or 5 on this Heat roster. And I don't think Jovic should ever be playing the small ball 5 anymore. I think it's very clear he's a 4, he's a 3 in terms of how you want to position your team. He can't guard 5s. Stop trying to make him do it. So stop acting like it. He's a power forward or small forward in this day and age. So you do need a backup center so Bam can continue to play the 4 a little bit. Ware can get a breather. And Bam doesn't have to play the 5 as an undersized guy because we kind of want him to lose weight and play more as a wing anyway. So get a backup center, and this is a legit competitive team in the Eastern Conference. So I want you to sound off in the comments. Be the GM. Do you agree? I think the biggest need for the Heat at this point is a backup center. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. What is the Heat's roster's biggest need? So I teased the Eastern Conference tiers in my book. I made this graphic. I think it's pretty cool, actually. But I made a tier list of the teams in the East. And there are 4 different tiers, in my opinion. The clear-cut top of the Eastern Conference that are the 3 likely contending teams to go to the finals. Right now, it's the Cavs, Magic, and Knicks, in my opinion. I really like that trade for Orlando where they got Desmond Bane. But I think Miami slots in the tier 2 right now with the Atlanta Hawks and Pistons. And those 6 teams that you see on the top here could be the teams that avoid the play-in and just get a strict send into the Eastern Conference playoffs. I like Detroit coming back with the year 2, Atlanta getting Jalen Johnson back, bringing in Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Luke Kennard, Kristaps Porzingis. I think those 6 are there. And I'll be honest, I think Miami is better than the tier 3 teams. Boston, without Tatum, they traded away Porzingis, they traded away Jrue Holiday. Do we think a Jaylen Brown, Derek White-led team in the Eastern Conference regular season is going to make noise? I don't think so. Indiana lost Miles Turner and Tyrese Halliburton for this year. Don't think Nembhard, Siakam, and Nesmith and their depth are going to be able to be top 6. Milwaukee, what is Miles Turner, Giannis, and Kyle Kuzma going to do anything? Like, no. I don't think so at all. Philly will never stay healthy. Toronto, I think, could be a surprise team, but I still wouldn't put them in the top 6. So to me, when you really go through it, I think Miami is a top 6 team in the Eastern Conference. Is this a team that can win the Eastern Conference Finals? No, I'm not drinking that much of a Kool-Aid. I don't think they could compete with Cleveland. I don't think they could compete with New York or really Orlando at this point in a 7-game playoff series unless an injury occurs, which, who knows? There's been so many injuries in the playoffs over the past couple of years, it's possible, but I'm not going to root for injury or bank on it. So I'm always looking at this as the teams are fully healthy as they're currently constructed. And I think they could absolutely compete with any of those teams like Atlanta or Detroit, but they would have a more difficult time against the Cleveland, New York, Orlando side of it. So I think Miami could win a playoff series if they played Orlando in the 3-6, or if they played Atlanta or Detroit in the 4-5, or maybe they get a 3-6. I don't know, but I think they could win a playoff series, but likely not make it to the Eastern Conference Finals or the NBA Finals unless an injury occurs, or Miami makes another big-time move at a trade deadline to acquire a big-time player. That'll do it for today's show. If you disagree with anything I say or have anything you want more on the Miami Heat, I'll have you covered, and I create conversation on Twitter on a daily basis. So go give me a follow at Nic_Rohloff. And as always, go Heat.